Welcome to the Your Ate podcast, where you'll experience the unfiltered and inspiring world of impact-driven women business owners. I'm your host, Mary Grace Iniguez, a female multi-passionate entrepreneur and the owner of Social Register Network, and I'm on a mission to ignite the power within you. Here at the Your Ate podcast, we're all about sharing authentic stories, both the triumphs and the challenges, because it's through our life experiences that we can truly impact others. I believe that by opening up and embracing vulnerability, we can empower ourselves and those around us. So grab your headphones and let's celebrate the resilience, passion, and the determination of each impact-driven women business owner. Remember, your story is the spark that can light up the world. Let's make an impact and ignite the power within you. Hello, and welcome back to the Your Ate podcast with myself, Mary Grace. And I'm so excited to bring to you another ate who's going to share their story with you. But this one is near and dear to my heart because when I met this woman, we just clicked immediately and we have been collaborating in all different areas. I'm like, hey, I have this idea. Would you like to collaborate? She's like, yes. She asked me. I'm like, yes, anything. So without further ado, please welcome Lauren Cole.
Hi, everybody.
Yes. Hey.
Hey, girl, hey.
Yay. We need like the clap audio. And we need some music for that entrance.
Right? Get into it.
Yes. So if you're watching on the video, if you're watching YouTube, you see all the vibes happening. Yeah. But if you're on audio, I recommend going on YouTube so you can see all the fun. But Lauren, for anyone who has not connected with you yet, tell them who you are and what you do first.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. And thank you, Mary Grace, for having me on today. It is an honor and a pleasure, as always, to work with you and be a part of the things that you have going on because our visions are so aligned with one another. So I appreciate you, as always, sharing the invitation and your platform with me so that we are impactful together. And I think what you're doing is so important and helping make women seen and feel valued and heard. So I want to thank you for that. And to everybody else, hello, I am Lauren Cole. I'm the CEO and founder of Businesswoman Brunchin. We are a female empowerment group, and basically what our goal is to help the female entrepreneur build, brand, and scale her business. However, we have a huge emphasis on community and sisterhood. So a lot of our events are tailored toward going out into the community and being of service in any way we can. We feed the homeless quarterly. We are going out tomorrow. Saturday, actually. We will be in downtown because unfortunately we did not make it in December. So we will be in downtown tomorrow, Saturday, to feed the homeless. And again, we do it quarterly. What we strive to also be is a place where the woman can come in and feel like she is actually being heard and supported. So at our networking or just our ladies' nights out, we let our hair down. We share things that are going on in our lives, professionally and personally, and just kind of serve as a support system for one another. I am also the co-owner of Just Freaking It LLC, in which is a photo booth company. It is a sister-ran company, so myself and my sister are the owners there, and we are able to help provide you any type of photo entertainment experience you're looking for. So please do follow us. If you are needing to book an event of any kind, no event is too big or small. That's Lauren.
Ooh, I love it. Lauren, I've always, I love you and I love everything you do for the community because you and I align 100% there. That's why you were my go-to. I was like, I want to give back to Orange County. I'm fairly new, so how can I do that? And then you popped up in my life, showed up at my event and you shared what you did. And I'm like, let's do this together because we're powerful together. Yes. You and I also talk about how as leaders, and especially with what we do, right? We lead communities. Yeah. A lot of people usually see the good. They always see well, how do you do it all and all these things? And you're such a beautiful person inside and out. And the goal of this Your Ate podcast is you become an ate to someone else. And as you may know, as a sister, you don't always just share the fluff. You share your experience, yes. You share the journey, And then that is truly how you inspire and educate another person.
Absolutely.
So tell us, what is your journey? What is your story? What got you here today?
Several things got me here today. I told Mary Grace we can dig in. So
We dig it. This is an
yeah,
exclusive,
this
ladies.
is definitely an exclusive. Unfortunately, I was born to a mother who got swayed in by the crack epidemic. So I was primarily raised by my grandmother. Kind of went back and forth between my mother and grandmother because we all yearn for that love from our mom, even though grandma still very much so plays mom for us in our parents' absence. So growing up was challenging to say the least, but I was always a straight A student. I kind of learned how to mask very early because it was my defense mechanism. So nobody ever had a clue about what was going on with me at home or anything because I showed up and I performed is what I began to just adapt to and take on. So I showed up and I performed. So my grades were fine. Everything was fine on the outside, but they had no idea I was dying inside. Some nights I wasn't eating. Some nights my mom wouldn't even come home. That just became part of my life until my grandmother came and got me. I lived with my grandparents until about the age of 15. And because I can say I literally almost had the best and worst of both worlds, if that makes sense. My grandparents were well established, well traveled. My grandmother was in banking as I am now. She retired from banking. They had a very polished lifestyle. And like I said, with my mother, it was very much so the opposite of that. So I got into golf and I got into things of that nature, which helped make me versatile enough to be even in spaces where I should have felt uncomfortable. But I kind of had influence from both sides. When my grandmother started to become ill and we wind up losing her from cancer or due to cancer, I kind of got out and started spreading my wings, so to say. So I've been on my own since I've been 17 years old and my journey started. I worked every kind of job, Burger King, Taco Bell, Best Buy, security. I worked everything, but I did have to drop out of high school. So before you said a high school dropout, but now I am a university certified graduate. So I will say to God be the
Yes.
glory, because again, it does not matter how you start, it's how you end up. A lot of my friends around me were doing things maybe less than savory, but I just never saw myself moving in those directions. I got married very young to my son's father, which was a total disaster. He was 16 years my elder, but when you are missing love and things of that nature, you go searching for love in all the wrong places. And I feel like that's what happened with that. I thank God for my son. I thank God for the experience because obviously it has just helped me build character. Yeah, give me a moment. So going through that experience, I had to put on my big girl panties, so to speak. Even though I was on my own, I was now on my own as a teenager with a baby. So life took a really interesting turn for me. I do appreciate the support and the people that God placed intricately in my life when I felt like I was drowning and I was literally ready to give up and give my son up for adoption because I didn't feel like I can handle it anymore. And I felt like I had already lived so much of life at such a young age of life. God started placing people in my life, which got me into my banking career. I went from security to banking. Wow, what a leap. Had no experience, but she was like, I know you can do this. I'm going to put my neck out here for you because I want to see you win. And I have seen you fight and fight. And she said, in the times that I thought you were going to fold, you came up smelling like a rose. So I cannot thank her enough. And it started me in my banking career. Started off with Bank of America, hit some bumps because I still wasn't really mature enough to understand the responsibility of, when you have the little kind of retail jobs, and you're just doing it because you're just doing it to make ends meet, take this serious. It's not a career. But when I got in something that was more career detailed or career oriented, I still wasn't groomed enough, so to speak, to and mature enough at that time to handle it. So I got let go from Bank of America. And I took a moment to reevaluate the way I approached everything in life. I realized a lot of the things I was doing out of anger and resentment, which were kind of domino affecting, obviously, the things that were happening in my life. So I had all this anger because I felt like, why me? Why did I have to go through this? Why this and that? Everybody else has this and that. You start looking around at everybody else and comparing, and that is the worst thing to do ever, because your story is uniquely written for you. That's the point that I've come to understand now. It's uniquely written for you, even though you might not understand why you are going through the things you are in the moment. Obviously, those are the darkest times. But when you start comparing, it makes it harder, for you to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it affects your decision making and your ability to see past your current circumstance. And you kind of wind up in a wilderness, kind of like a dog chasing his tail, right? You get nowhere doing that.
Yeah. It's kind of like you're not grounded on what you want because the outside exterior is like piercing through that, and then it's causing you to kind of like get what do you call it? Kind of hypnotized by what everyone else is doing, and you forget what your purpose is.
And then we didn't necessarily grow up. Well, I know I myself didn't, because I'm 43 now, but so we didn't necessarily grow up in technical driven society, right? It was like MySpace, and that was very like, so it wasn't like social media was a thing, or anything like that. So
it's not like what we have access to now
at all. So things were very difficult, or they're a lot different to overcome or find resources to help and, do and go through. So in going through that, when you don't feel like you have the help, that's what I said, it started impacting my decision making and things. But I'm like, oh, I have this whole little person here who is dependent on me, looking at me to figure it out, to make it work. And he's looking at me and I'm looking at him, and I'm, what are we going to do? So, but I got into my career banking, and I thank God for that. Even after being let go, like I said, I took the time to kind of step back and reflect and put things into perspective for myself and get serious about life. I guess that's probably the better term for that. I knew I had to get serious.
How old were you at that moment?
Oh, I got married at the age of 19. So I want to say I was about 24.
Okay. Yeah. Because that's still young.
Yeah.
And I mean, my son's 21, and I just look at, the age, right? Yes. What came over you to really evaluate what you were doing?
The things that were going on in my life, bad relationships. Okay. I just went from one bad relationship. Again, it was that looking for love in all the wrong places, because what I felt I did not get as a child. So those bad relationships, the bad decision making in the relationships, like I just felt like things were spiraling downhill fast. But there was still a part of me that knew I was better than my circumstance or situation. So it's like, better, but I didn't want to do better. That's what it was, because I had become comfortable in this rut. And then I said, losing my job at Bank of America, and again, having my son, I was like, this is not the life that I want for us. This is not the life that I see for me. I need to get serious about life and make some changes. And I prayed. I believe that, everybody has their own belief system, whether it's God or, Allah, whoever you decide as your higher source. That is so important. I didn't realize the importance until I literally had to cry out to God and ask him to intervene in my life and show me what to do, because I didn't know what else to do. I feel like I was at my lowest of low. I was donating plasma while working a full-time job because I couldn't even meet all my bills. So I'm in there with my son, asking people in the lobby to watch him while I go back. It was a journey, so when I look back at everything, it's the saying in our culture, thank God I do not look like what I've been through, because he has kept me through some storms. I will say that. So I said, going through all of that, I had to realize that the choices I was making were definitely not the best for me. And I wanted to do something different with my life. And I took charge of my life with a lot of prayer, a lot of fasting. I started putting myself in positions or in situations where I could learn from people. And there was a lady who attended our church, and she almost adopted me. And I thank God so much for her. And that's when I started really getting on track.
Wow. obviously I know where you are today. And so hearing your story of the woman who believed in you in Bank of America and then hired you, and then now this woman in church, pretty much adopting
Yeah.
you and getting you again to the next
Mm-hmm.
level.
And
It's
it
beautiful.
is it is because they are two very intricate pieces of my puzzle, and I can say without them I don't know if I would be here today. I do thank God, as I say how I grew up with my mother, I thank God that she has cleaned up her life and turned around her life, and she did it without any rehab or anything like that, and we have a beautiful relationship as it stands today. And I thought I would never be there with her because so much resentment and so much brokenness and so much hurt there that I feel like it was her fault and that I blamed her for and all of that. But I sit before you here today and say we have a beautiful relationship and it's nothing but God. And I'm grateful for that.
That's awesome. That is awesome. You're such a beautiful and positive person. And I want to know for any other woman who's maybe just going through a journey right now, right? That journey where maybe they're at their lows, or maybe they're not that low, but maybe they're going through some stuff right now. What helped you? What were those key sources aside from prayer and fasting? I love that you mentioned fasting because I was just listening to a video and they shared that in order for you to really hear what you're meant to be doing, is to shut off everything
Everything.
and fast.
Yes.
So no eating for like 4 hours and literally nothing. No emails, no phone, no music, just literally in
Yes.
silence to
Yeah.
hear yourself.
Yes. Because you block out all of the noise. You block out all of the noise.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, you have to be willing to look at your life and be okay with everything that has gone on today. To wherever the moment pulls you, wherever you are right there in that moment, you have to be willing to take a moment and stop and look at it. If you're not progressing or if you're in the low, why are you in the low? Is it hurtful to have to go through some of the things? Yeah, because there's some accountability and ownership in there that you're probably going to have to take. Be okay with it. Don't feel victimized because you would never move forward with a victimized mentality. And once I began to shed the victimized mentality, I was able to start literally feeling some of the burden up off of me because I had to realize that the choices everyone else has made that has impacted your life, they can only go so far. What are the choices that you are making to impact your life so that you move forward to the place that you want to be in life? You can't keep blaming everybody for everything that you've gone through because you will never get past it. You're not addressing the hurt. You're making excuses for it. Deal with it. And that was the biggest thing. I had to deal with it, and that's not easy, because everybody is not in a space that they want to own some of their part of it or that you won't even acknowledge it. Acknowledging is one thing, owning is another thing for me, because I can acknowledge something and I still don't, if I still don't really care about it, it's not going to resonate with me. So once you acknowledge it and own it, feel it and move past it, because you're going to keep carrying it. And the song Bag Lady, you're going to keep dragging those bags with you. You're going to hurt your back, your everything, because you're not going to be able to keep carrying it and move out of the space that you're in. So that is what I did. I had to take a moment of reflection of myself. After I was done blaming everybody, it's like, okay, so what's next, Lauren? Who's the only person left? Okay, what could you have done in this situation, or what could you have done differently to drive a different result? And once you start owning some of your portion of it, like I said, then you start shedding the victim mentality and you can start moving into a place of peace so that you're able to move on and move forward.
Oh, that's the most amazing advice ever, because as humans, I think also, because I think back when I was younger, and sometimes I still do this too, right? I get into that victim mode and I'm like, well, I can't do this because of this and that and this. And then I have to check myself. And I think you and I talked about
Yeah.
that there are moments you got to check yourself, because we have no control of everybody else's actions and emotions and what they do, but we have control of ourselves.
Absolutely.
And what are we doing to get out of this situation, or what are we doing to evolve to the next person of ourselves, the next evolution of ourselves?
Yes.
We have control
We
of
do.
that. And I love that you mentioned the victim mentality because no one has mentioned that yet. And it is something that a lot of us
Yeah.
do. Everyone does
Yeah.
it. It's human.
Yes.
But if you really take accountability, like you just said, and you look at the shit that you don't want to look at, and you're like, okay, let me just sit back. Let me remove the emotions of anger and all these
Yes.
things that are hard right now.
Yes.
And let me just see, okay, what did I do in this situation? Let me just acknowledge that and look at it. And it's like, okay, I was a bitch. Okay, I was this. Okay, I didn't do
Yeah.
this. Okay, I could have done better
Mm-hmm.
here. But the most important thing, as you have shared and I see in your life, is you move forward
Yes.
and you don't repeat it
Yes.
again. You try not to
Mm-hmm.
repeat it again.
Mm-hmm. And that's important. The moving forward is normally the hardest part because we are creatures of habit,
Mhm.
right? So you've
Yes.
been such
Yeah.
a creature
Yeah.
of habit, you just want to continue doing the things that you're used to. But we all know what the definition of insanity is. You keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result, and that's where a lot of us get stuck. And the gate just keeps swinging back and forth and back and
Yeah.
forth. So it's the move forward part for me. So I knew that obviously what I was doing was not working. I'm an adult now with a
Mhm.
child and yada, yada, yada. Even though I was on my own, it's different just me worrying about me. I mean, I was homeless at one point. I was literally a couch
Yeah.
drifter. I was from couch to couch to couch to couch because, again, I told you I've been on my own since I was 16, 15, actually. Okay.
Mhm.
Because that last year of my grandmother being sick, I really wasn't there because I couldn't see her in that state. So I kind of literally, by this time, was doing what I wanted to, like literally. So I didn't think that I
Mhm.
had to answer to anybody. I knew my mom wasn't checking for me. So, I was already grown out here before I should have been grown out here, you know. Um,
Mhm.
so moving forward, what I had to learn is, in addition to, for a tip, shedding that victim mentality is you have to realize that there is no testimony without you being tested. So you are always still going to be tested no matter what
Yep.
level of success you get to. However, the events that
Yes.
take place in the middle, they are those defining and character building moments that you want to capitalize on and learn from. So in me shedding that woe is me, why is me kind of thing, I had to say, well, you know what? I made it. I went through this, but I made it. I'm still here. Did I like how I had to go through it? Was it uncomfortable for me to go through? Yeah, but it's creating layers in me that I'm going to be able at some point to come down the line and bless somebody else and step in somebody's life the way somebody stepped in mine and try to open doors of opportunity the way they were open to me when I know some instances I wasn't even worthy, or at least that's how I felt because I had taken on that mentality so hard and fell into such a depression about everything that had gone on in my life instead of being able to really see what was going on in front of me was things that were slowly leading me to what it was that I would be doing.
Yeah. I was just talking to someone a couple months ago. She's also a predominant leader here in Las Vegas, and she hosts women events. And she was asking me to speak at her event. And then we just got in a conversation, like I always do. I get into these
Yes,
conversations.
yes.
And I shared with her because she wanted to know my story. So I told her I was a teen mom, and I told her, I didn't know what I was doing. And I shared with her that I was trying to also create more life with my husband now at this age of 37. And I was just sharing with her. And I told her I didn't know what I was doing. And now, I know what I'm doing. You know how you get in that
Yes,
mode, right?
yes.
And she told me, she was like, I want you to reframe that because God would not give you anything that you are not capable of. So I want you to rewire and think
Mm-hmm.
that you were given a baby at 16, 15, and then I gave birth at 16 because you were capable. You had the tools. He knew you can do it. And he knew, as you just said, that you were going to bless other
Mm-hmm.
people down the road
He'll never put
with
more
your
on us than
experience.
what we can bear. So, I had to really start believing that when I was going through things and I got more in depth
Mhm.
with the word, like, he'll never put more on me than I can bear. I'm going through for a reason. Like, it makes those times a little easier, to relate to. So, yes, he's not going
Yes.
to give you more than what you can handle. Whether you feel like I'm getting ready to pull every stitch of my hair out, you're like, no, you're not. It's going to be okay. It's a reason. It's a reason. It's a reason, and it's
Mhm.
for my glory,
Yeah.
and it's for you to add to your story to bless somebody else and come into theirs. So yeah. Definitely. Sometimes.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important for us to share our story and build these communities as you've done. You've built a community as well where women just feel safe and they can share so that we can get the help we need,
Right.
but also so we don't feel alone.
Alone, right? Because you would never, you know, here's the thing, we come into these professional settings and or environments, and like I say, you learn how to master, you learn how to adapt or just be, but you're not being yourself. It felt so good when
Mhm.
I was comfortable being me. Like, finally, I didn't have to wear all the masks. I didn't have to put on, I can just be me. And wait, people actually like me. So it's like we come into these rooms and we think that we have to show up a certain way. But I feel like what my organization, as well as yours, does, I can come in and I can just be myself. I don't have to put on all the airs. I don't have to be this 9 to 5 professional here, mom here, this and that. Like, at least in these 2 hours, I can just let down my hair and just be me. And then once you're comfortable with just being you, and then knowing that there's other people that I can relate, girl, I've gone through it, or I'm going through it right now, or it makes such a difference to hear that you are not alone. You are not alone. And
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
what I was striving for when I created Businesswoman Brunchin, because I initially started it just geared toward the businesswoman. And then when I saw the need for the sisterhood portion of it, because I didn't want to be excluded. I wasn't in business, so
Mhm.
I wasn't in business when I needed help. I wasn't. So wait a minute, maybe this should be more of a resource. And then obviously we can address whatever business needs of the women who come in the space that are needing resources. But maybe we want to focus on the sisterhood for women who just need support, for women who just need to be heard, for women who just want to be seen and accepted and loved. And that's what it was for me. And that's what it is for me, because those are all of the things that I wanted. And it took me a while, but I got there.
So you left off with being in your 20s, early
Mhm.
20s, and navigating life at that
Mhm.
point. Where was the time during that journey where you really did hone in on who you are and really not having to wear those masks?
So I moved to Arizona when my son was 2, and I was there until 2011. Through that time, I went through
Okay.
a test or two. I could say, and I was like, okay, so maybe right move, wrong time, like, but I believe that, his timing is everything versus ours. His time is not our time, right? So it was a reason that I was there, but I'm like, yeah, this is probably not where I should be,
Why did you move there?
because my mother had moved there. My mother and brother had moved there. So now here's a fun fact. On my dad's side, I have 5 brothers. On my mom, it's just me and my brother, and he is 10 years my elder. So we really didn't have a close
Okay.
relationship,
Mm.
at all, due to the
Mhm.
age difference and everything else that went on. So I wind up moving there though, because I was going through a divorce with my son's father, when I realized that
Mhm.
this wasn't going to work. And I felt like I said I do and he said I don't. And when I said, because everything went to shit, literally, like
Mhm.
right after we
Mhm.
got married. And so things started happening. And I was like, I want a better life for us. So I got up and my mom said, come. I moved in with her, and we stayed about 2 or 3 months in Arizona. I mean, excuse me, with her while we were in Arizona, and I got my own place. I'll never forget it. I was so excited. My little own, we got a studio, girl, because I had to start, humble beginnings. So I got a little
Yes.
studio. I
Yes.
was so excited. I'm like, this is a new place. I got in a relationship. Guy was a total jerk. Lost a lot of things. Had a gambling addiction, this and that. He was stealing from me. Everything under the sun. Like,
Oh, yeah.
went on. So I was like, well, yeah, it's probably time for me to move back. As I said, I told you I was a high school dropout. I did not, Mary Grace, go back to get my GED online until I was 31 years old. I'm 43 today. So I wanted to
Yes.
show my son that, you can
Mhm.
overcome anything. So when I got serious was not until I moved back to California in 2011. I felt I gained enough experience now professionally and personally that I can come back out here, plant my feet, and take off.
Mhm.
Once I got here, I transferred because I was still with Wells Fargo, obviously still am. So when I transferred, we moved up to the IE. I wanted to keep him away from things that I would feel are less than appealing as far as lifestyle, gangs, this and that. So I made sure I stayed up in the IE because I didn't want him influenced or impacted negatively, because obviously we all want our kids to
Mhm.
be beyond where we are. And I didn't want the influence to, rub off on him. So moved up to the IE. The department I transferred to, I hated it. Right? Like I hated it, but I knew I needed to get away. But I had so much tenure with the company at that point, I didn't want to leave the company. So the first, I want to say 2 or 3 years did not go how I was anticipating when I came back.
Mhm.
Everybody begged me to move back, right? Even though I was ready to, but everybody like, oh, you left. I hate that you left. Why did you leave? When you come back, we're gonna, including his father. I didn't tell you to leave, So I'm coming back thinking like, oh, everybody misses us. Everybody, it's gonna be like this and that. And I got the total
Yeah.
opposite. That sent me spiraling because I was depression.
Mm.
Not spiraling, I want to say downhill, but the just depression set in, feeling of I'm not good enough. I
Mhm.
don't have the support. Everybody left me hanging. I noticed that victim mentality was starting to creep back in after I had worked so hard, but just like anything, you have to do continuous work to make sure the things that you have implemented for yourself stay in place. So I noticed that I started going into that again. And I'm like, you know what? I am capable to deal with things so head on without the mask now. I'm okay. And I just kept
Mhm.
telling myself, I'm okay because there's no more mask. I'm okay. I have accepted
Yeah.
the way everybody has to move in life. I understand that. I'm okay. And when I kept saying to myself, I'm okay. And I want to start sewing into other people. Got heavily involved in my church, served on the usher board. I still am. Served on the usher board and the choir. I work with the youth. I still do, and we have community service at my church. But I noticed we didn't have anything specifically for like young ladies. Like we have the children's, group in there from ages 12 to 18, but it was nothing like what I was still seeking to do. It was not like a women's support group or a foundation around that.
Mhm.
It was like you can go to the ladies' Bible study, but it would just be things of that. And, people sometimes don't feel comfortable enough showing the layers when they're in religious settings. So I was like,
Yeah.
hmm. Yeah,
Yes.
so I'm like, you know what?
Mhm.
It's a need here. I'm like, it's really a need because I have this counselor that I talk to and she's my shepherd. That's what they call when you're at church and you're sitting under someone. I'm like, she's my shepherd, but I can't be totally transparent, and sharing the things that I want to. I
Mhm.
can't, just say, oh, I feel like this night. Oh, guess what? I went over here and I had a few drinks over here this night and I was turned up. And
Yeah.
it wasn't that. So I'm like,
Because you got the religion right there, the
now
line.
you gonna condemn me? You gonna be ready to stone me or what? So
Oh, that's
so
funny.
I'm like, I started thinking like, what can I do to create a space for women to come in and just feel great about themselves or
Mm.
be able to just be themselves, unapologetically them, no hats, no masks, like I was saying earlier, just themselves. I started working on Businesswomen Brunchin because by that time, Just Flicking It was already up and running. And that was simply started as my sister had a photo booth business and she had severed partnerships with the other owners. And so I'm like, we have equipment, that's money. What are we going to do with it? She was like, well, what do you want to do?
Mhm.
You want to open a bit? Let's do it. So that's literally but Businesswomen Brunchin was on my heart before then. However, I was intimidated by myself because I was really scared to take a step out on faith. I don't know if that's going to work. Are you sure? So what? Y'all just going to brunch?
Mm.
Oh, I, I don't see where it really makes sense. I got a lot of that back, a lot of that back. So I was like discouraged, like instead of it
Yeah.
being like
Yeah.
trial and error, I was like really discouraged. Like, well,
Mhm.
maybe it's not a need because, I feel like this is what I needed. And I know when I started Just Flicking It, I had questions about the business, how to get resources, how to get this, how to get that.
Mhm.
And I'm just trying to bring the two together. But I got a lot of that's stupid. That doesn't make sense. How does that
Oh, wow.
make an impact? And I didn't realize that the people you can't share with everybody, right?
No,
And so that was,
no.
also part of your learning process, because there are people who are
Mhm.
rooting for you. And then obviously those who are rooting against you, but will sit in your face as if they are rooting for you when they're really rooting for you to
Ooh,
fail.
yes. But also to add to that, there are other people where their mindset is just not
Yes.
in that
Yes.
sector. They just cannot fathom things like that working because their mindset is a 9 to 5 and just staying in their lane
Mhm.
type of
Yes.
thing. There's a lot of people who just don't fathom community. They're like, how is that going to work? How are you going to get people
Yes.
to that event? Why would anyone show up to that?
Exactly. You
Right?
just hit every,
Girl, yeah.
and so again, I'm discouraged. I'm like, well, is it? Maybe it won't work.
Mm,
Maybe it doesn't make as much sense as I thought. I start doubting myself, and then I just had this heavy weighing on my heart, and I just went before the Lord, and I'm like, if this is what I'm supposed to do, God, I need you to tell me like right now, because I feel this emptiness because I have such a heart to serve. I have such a heart to serve young ladies. I have such a heart for sisterhood because my family is small, like very small. My mother is an only
yeah.
child. Okay. So, like I said, I was
Mhm.
always looking for love. I was always looking for acceptance. I was always looking for those things that I felt I didn't have enough of. So, I knew how it
Mhm.
felt being that way as a teenager and definitely as a young lady. And that's where you wind up in these interesting, for lack of a better word, relationships. And you start accepting things that you have no business accepting and doing things that you have no business
Mhm.
doing just for the sake of being loved, just for the sake of saying, I have somebody, when it's really
Yeah.
self-sabotage. You're really self-sabotage. And I said, if I can save somebody or speak to somebody, just help them stop the self-sabotage. Because again, he brought me these two women in my life, and there were times that we didn't speak, and because I felt like I had let them down. There were times that we, had disagreements, obviously, because I don't want to say performing to what they knew, but they knew that I could do better and I was choosing not to, so
Mm.
you go through all of that, and you go through all these character building or defining moments until you come to the point that you're like, okay, yeah, I don't want anybody else to go through that. And if I can help anyway deter you from going down that path, let me do it. And so God showed up and said, this is what it is. This is what I wanted to see it be. That's why, our end result is the resource center and the transitional homes, because I want to be a blessing. I want to provide counseling. I'm trying to go to school for that. I'm always doing things. So it's like,
Yep.
I want to be the shoulder, the ear, the hug, the whatever, because sometimes all I just needed was a hug. A total stranger can hug me and I'll totally break down, because sometimes you just need
Mm.
a hug. The simplicity of things that we need in life that people overlook, and they are non-monetary, but they are the most expensive things that you can receive that add value to your life. And I just want to be that for another lady and provide the space for her. That's why the end goal for the organization is to open the resource centers and the transitional homes, because I want to step in that space, to serve in that space. And I'm praying God, and I know God will send me the staff so that we can provide counseling and things of that nature to young ladies who are coming in and they are just looking for love. Well, we won't be the wrong place. We will be the right place. And we will help get them on track in life. It doesn't matter if you want to be an entrepreneur or not, because this walk is not for everybody. However, if we can just get you on the right path in life to where you feel like you're important, you should be here. You are here for a purpose. You don't have to compare your life to anybody else's, because again, your story is yours and you choose how you write it. The things that you can't control, you just can't control, because that is life. But everything that you can, own it, control it, and show up as a badass in that space for you. And that is the message that I want to give young ladies and encourage them. And definitely from where I started to where I am today, I give all the praise and glory to God, because there are times I didn't want to keep going at all. But it was something in me. When my mom said, stop saying something, it was the God in me that kept pushing me to become the best and a better version of myself. Every time I just felt like I kept reinventing myself. And every time I, hit a large sum of adversity, because my 20s were rough, my teens were rough, and I didn't want to keep dealing with this chasing the tail cycle. Why does everything have to be so rough? It doesn't. If you own it
Mhm.
own it and change it. It's not going to change unless you change it. And so I was like, I'm going to fix
Yeah.
this shit. And yeah.
An important piece that I would love you to elaborate in before we close out, and of course, get your contact information out, because I would love women to be able to connect with you and learn more about your businesswomen Brunchin and everything you're doing. It was a piece about when people were, giving you the negative feedback, and then you were just like, okay. And then something literally came over you, heavy, heavy, heavy. And you're like, I'm just going to do it, because that's what happened to me.
Mhm.
It's, so, I'll put out an idea
Mhm.
in the past. Now I have an idea and it's like, we're going to
Yeah,
execute. And I
we're
just
going to
said, the
do it.
team, we're
Yes.
executing. I don't care. Yeah, we're going to do it. But in the past is I would have an idea and I would sort of doubt myself, because then I was looking for confirmation
Mhm.
from people around me. And then people would give me the feedback. I didn't like the negative I would hear. And so I'd kind of like, okay,
Mhm.
whatever. But it would discourage me.
Mhm.
And then I would not do it. And then I would wait. I would just like continue my
Mhm.
life. And then it would literally knock on my door and show up in different
Yes.
ways, like
Yes.
different ways. And so, what can you say about that for any woman who's going through something like that? Because I have no words to explain it. I can just say that it was just kept knocking, and different people would show up and people would ask for it, and then things would happen in my life. It just kept happening. I'm like, I'm going to
Yeah.
do it. Like, we need to do this.
That's the word that you spoke. We all have intuition as women. So I don't believe the way we are wired, nothing comes across our mind by chance, right? We're supposed to do it, whether it is a success or whether it's a flop. It's a reason that we're supposed to do it. And so I stopped looking for that validation, because that's when I learned that some people, like you said, they're just not in that space to even have a business oriented mind. There's nothing wrong with that. And like I said, some people just don't want to see you win. And that's when you start cutting out
Mhm.
the noise, because that's some of the noise, right? Blocking those distractions. So what it was for me when I prayed and I said, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Because if not, I'm ready to open this, and this and that. And I don't care. And it wasn't that he answered my prayers. It was how dare I say, I don't care. And I was convicted about that, right? And the conviction came because I was already discouraged before I even got started. And he said, you didn't even give yourself a chance. And you didn't allow me to show up for you. You decided, and that's what happens when, you lean to your own understanding versus, for me, what God is leading me to do. So I was leaning toward my own understanding, walking in the way that I wanted to. And then he just pulled me back. I said, this was what you were supposed to be doing. And I need you to do
Mhm.
this now. Now, because it's a lady, it's a young lady, it's an older lady, you have lives to touch. You have, like I said, there's no test without the testimony. You can't go have a testimony without the test. Like your life can speak into somebody else's life that doesn't think that they're important, don't think that they're valuable, don't think that they should be doing this, YZ. But what I have learned in this space, definitely in my life, is many are called, but few are chosen. I know that I've been chosen. And before I struggled with that, but I know that I have been chosen. I have been able to sit in rooms that I did not think that I was qualified to sit in. And on paper, I probably still am not just yet to sit in. I've been invited into spaces that I never thought that with the caliber of people I would be able to rub shoulders with. I have been given opportunities to speak on platforms with doctors and this. I have no doctorate. I have no. So it's like, how can this not be for me the way God has showed up in this space for me by me just stepping out on faith and finally answering the call because I blocked out the noise. I had to answer the call and I
Yeah.
blocked out the noise. So I know that I am chosen, and
Yeah.
everything about my journey has definitely showed me that this is just what I'm supposed to be doing. So many are called, like I said, but few are chosen. I'm happy that I was chosen. I'm grateful. I'm humbled. I'm honored for the platform that God has given me. And my word for this year, again, is expansion. And I can't wait for this expansion to take off to the level that He sees fit, because everything I live, breathe, move, and do is through Him.
So many gems you just dropped, because I know there's several women out there who are listening that maybe they're going through a change or evolution. They're evolving to the next level, or they want to start something new, or they're thinking about doing this or doing that. And we have those doubts, but I trust me and trust Lauren and I, because we've been through it, is if you just sit instill. You feel it and you're like, okay, I want to do that. And if you don't wholeheartedly trust it yet, just sit in
Just
stillness.
sit.
It's coming and the answers will come to you. Instead of you making such a harsh move towards the left and then not being able to, you know, proceed in what your purpose is, because best believe you're going to be pulled right back.
And you
Or
doing
it's
that,
just
you
going to
miss the
be
blessing and the lesson sometime. When you do that hard left, or sometimes you miss your blessing and your lesson because you didn't went too far left. Now I can't even pull you back. So, yeah.
I love talking to Lauren because she has all these metaphors. She's a poetic rapper. Like, God. There's a blessing and a lesson in that.
Lesson in there. You got to catch them both.
But you are so right. Obviously, you and I still have more life to live. We don't know everything, but we can share from our experiences and the things we've gone through in the past. And I can tell you, I could be a testimony that everything I've gone through was either a lesson or a blessing. And most times it was both, because a lesson is a blessing because it allows you to grow in some way.
And you won't go repeat it. So nine times out of 10, it's a duo. 9 times out of 10, it's definitely a duo. I found that to be so. And I'm like, well, you went through that was so bad, but guess what it did? It taught me not to do that hard left again. That's what I won't do. I got that lesson. Don't worry about it.
Yes, girl. Yes. And it's usually those hard ones, those ones that knock you to your knees. Those are the ones that there's a lesson there.
Yes.
And best believe once you feel it, once you feel how hard it is and how painful it is, you're not going to repeat it again. And that's life. And the
we cannot. You feel like, you know what, God, you still saw me through it. See, that's why it's both. Yes. You can't forget the latter part. Yes. You know what? I learned this, God, and you saw me through it, and the experience, the lesson. Thank you for allowing me to take heed to that and not allow me to make the same mistake.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Preach. Because for me, sometimes, girl, sometimes I got to hit that wall a couple of times. And I tell God, I'm so sorry. I journal, I journal. That's how I pray. And I'm like, I know. But I just say I'm a slow learner. That's what I like to say.
Look, what the word says, a just man falls 7 times, right? So, I mean, a just man, I'm far from just. So if he falls 7, you might double and triple that up, quadruple that up for me because, I'm far from just. So I am a work in progress, but I thank him for the work he has done in me and is continuing to do and will continue to do. So, that's what it is.
And I love that you look at it.
My faith is everything for me. My faith is really everything for me. People like, well, maybe you should be a preacher, but I'm like, I don't know. But
girl. Like I said, you're a poetic rapper.
I had a friend. Last thing, I had a friend. She was like, when you talk, I used to think like, she's like, I used to think like you would be. This was stuff I hear. She was like, but I really realized this just comes off the top of your head. I'm like, I don't rehearse my conversations. Like I don't rehearse my conversations. Whatever comes up.
Every time I talk to you, there's always some kind of wisdom and poetic rap to this. So I'm like, I need Lauren at all of my talks.
I may have been a rapper in my former life, girl.
Maybe. I love talking to you, Lauren. You know that you and I can be on this podcast for 5-10 hours and we could have a trillion episodes because there's just so much alignment, so much past experiences that we have both shared, but also the impact we want to make on the community is also aligned. And I love that. I've found a lot of people who are aligned, but I've never found someone who is like heart to heart sister. Like I feel the warmth when I talk to you. I feel that there is no competition. I can't even say the word because I don't even use it. There's always collaboration here. Always.
I'm so, girl, first of all, I was so upset that I missed that. I got this going on with my hand, so I'm probably
girl, that was a good event.
And I'm like, now Mary Grace, no, she can't be having this event in the middle of the day like this, and she know I got to be in the office. I was like, God, you're gonna open the door when I can start showing up, and then unfortunately it's my hand, but I'm like, well, Lord, I guess that leave is looking pretty good. I'll be able to start showing up.
Girl, I thought about you. I thought about you. I was like, oh, Lauren would really love this event.
Oh,
But I'm being called to a lunch
yeah.
events. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And it was so good.
See,
It's
yes,
that
that you
calling,
have to
but
answer it.
also, you know what? I understand now too that it's timing for everyone.
Yes,
So there's gonna be a time, there's gonna be a place for everyone.
yes,
Maybe it's not that event, but maybe it's an upcoming one,
yes.
or maybe it's a virtual one. We don't know. So Lauren, before I forget, because I'm going to go off,
Yes,
we're going to start on a whole different
girl, so
conversation
you
again.
be showing up, girl.
let
I was so mad.
So let the women know how they can connect with you, get in touch with Business Women Brunchin, because I know it's not only in SoCal, there's one in Vegas, and then soon there's one in Arizona. So how can they get in touch with you if they want to be part of this? Because I know you do virtual ones too
Yeah.
that I need to actually join.
Yes. So Facebook, it's Businesswomen Brunchin Inc., but we do also have them listed by individual chapters. So it will be Businesswomen Brunchin AL, Businesswomen Brunchin NV, AZ, same tag for Instagram. Or you can email support@bwbrunchininc.org. You can also send us a text message if you have any questions about any of our upcoming events. You can text info to 951-384-1608. If you are looking to book any party services, that is Just Flicking It LLC on Instagram and Facebook as well. That's all my handles, Lauren Cole on Facebook and Instagram as well. Instagram is Ms. Lauren Cole, but Facebook it's Lauren Cole. So those are all of our handles. All things are just Businesswomen Brunchin, and you make sure you put the state in which you reside behind the handle, or not reside, the state in which you are looking for behind the handle. Arizona, Nevada, California, and Alabama. Those are our 4 up and running chapters, and we do virtual for Nevada and Alabama. We will start the launch of that platform actually next month in February. So please stay tuned for that. And I hope to see you guys at one of the events soon. We have our February events up. We have a paint and sip and a Galentine's Day dinner. So that's going to be fun. That is in Newport Beach. And for Arizona, we're doing a candle making class. And Alabama and Nevada, we have something special for you this month. So please stay tuned.
Yes. So get connected. I'm going to close it out with get connected with Lauren because she has some really fun events. I'm excited. You know, she has the events when I'm in Vegas and I miss it literally by a day when I'm flying out. But I know, again, timing. It's going to be timing, divine timing. I've had several girlfriends and clients who have attended Lauren's events and they love it. They love it. So connect with Lauren. Either way, wherever you are, you need to connect with Lauren because you need her in your circle. So, all right. Thank you so much, Lauren. It was such an honor and always a pleasure for us to have conversation. I can't wait to see what else we have in store for 2024.
Me too.
Thank
I'm
you
excited.
again. Yes.